Hi, it's Barb Kelly. I'm a clinical psychologist and child psychologist, and today I'm going to tell you a little bit about using video conferencing to provide therapy. It's a really wonderful option when physical distancing is required. And I'm using that language of physical distancing because it's really important that we're not socially distancing. We need to continue out to support our children and young people, and video conferencing is a wonderful option to do this. I'm from Australia and in Queensland, and I've been using video conferencing for a really long time to support children who maybe needed that physical distancing because of their isolation physically, or perhaps they just found it more convenient to not sit in a waiting room, to not travel for appointments, or to do exposure work and generalise their learnings to the home. And I've found a lot of families really love it. So I want to tell you about how I make it work. This video will be really useful for if you are a child psychologist or a child counsellor, maybe you work in schools, or maybe you're a parent wondering how it might work. But I'm going to give you some tips for the therapist today. So one of the best things that is really helpful to know is it's all about the prep work and the organisation you do before the actual appointment. So you've got to have an agenda. You need to have set that agenda before and worked it out with the family on the other end and ask them to have some resources ready for you so you can deliver your session just as if it was in the office. You might need to be a bit flexible about how you do that or what kind of resources so that they're things that are easily available. Maybe you'll ask them to have some pens or some paints ready to go, some colouring in, Play-Doh, fidget toys, things like that ready to go. But having your families work with you as co-therapists is actually one of the key things you can do to make video conferencing work. And we know this for all kind of therapy, that if we have families work with us, the child or young person is able to generalise their learning outside of the clinic and actually get more out of the sessions. So when we do therapy where it's just a child or young person, that's equal to 1 hour of therapy. That makes sense. But when we involve somebody from the child's community, that's equal to 80 hours of therapy. When I first had this, I kind of went, oh, I've made a mistake. That doesn't make any sense. But actually it does, because all that is for the next 2 weeks, the family being my co-therapist will be mentioning this, using the same language and doing what we've been doing in session. So having the family there as co-therapists can be really appropriate and useful for us. They might be the person who does some of the physical work on the other end as well, but they're also going to be supporting you in generalizing that learning. So just like any session, I'm a really active kind of therapist, and I like to make sure that children's downstairs brain is really calm. And if you don't know the hand model of the brain, go and check out some of my other videos or watch some videos on Dean Siegel and the hand model of the brain. It's a really useful model. So I really like to calm the downstairs brain and get our bodies lit on. So I might get kids to do some learning and movement before we even start, and I'll do just what I would normally do in the clinic, which is use some cards to do that, and I'll just show them to the screen and say, can you do this one to get your lid on? But it's really important that I jump up and do some of that learning too. So a lot of families are often, a lot of people are saying to me, oh, you're really lucky when you do video conferencing, you get to work from home and you're wearing your cash clothes. No, you've still got to be ready to be up and moving. And I'll do that moving as well. Maybe I'll do some yoga movements. Say, can you do this? A bit like Simon says, get some moving going on. So that's how I'm getting my body ready for learning. You can tell I'm a legit YouTuber because I have a spinning wheel, right? So I'll show you how I use my spinning wheel in therapy. So I might spin it here in the clinic through the video, and whatever colour it lands on, I'll say, oh, it's landed on red. We've been working on the zones of regulation. Tell me a time when you've been in the red zone. Tell me a body symptom in the red zone. Now, if you don't know about the zones of regulation, that's another wonderful resource. There's a lot of free things available and low-cost apps, so get on over to that as well. And you might want to check out my video on using Skittles and M&Ms to teach emotions using these colours. So that's another activity you can do through the video conferencing. So video conferencing using the spinner and resources in the room. You can even use that spinner wheel online. So there's a free game that children can, when you click share screen, share control through your program, they'll be able to spin the wheel themselves, and that makes it a little bit more fun, right? So some of the other things of using some of the resources in the room that I have, I'll be using my board games that I always do. Favorite one, this one, $80 or something to buy on online. Think about something like that. Could be something to keep the therapy going on at home. It's a really wonderful resource, but I'll play it through the screen, and I can set it up on my end, and I can still ask all the questions through this, or I might even just play with the cards. So this one is the unhelpful thought or a negative thought that this is terrible. And then I'll get the child on the other end to roll the dice, and they've rolled a 6. So I'll ask them the question, oh, a coping thought for this thought is, and they've got to come up with it. We might keep a tally of this, and we can use the video conferencing program to go on over to a Word document or to a whiteboard screen and to keep a tally or to draw. It's really important to be using the actual technology to work for you. So one of the things I often do is share screen. So I'm going to give that a try now to show you a little bit about how that works. So I'll share the screen, and let's see. Oh, I don't want that one. We'll go in this one. And it's not the right screen that I'm wanting. And I'm going to have to show you exactly what you've got to do all the time in therapy, but especially with video conferencing, is be prepared for making mistakes. Own it, talk about it with the family, and role model having helpful thoughts in response to that. Oh, I'm having the thought that this is the worst day ever and video conferencing is terrible and I'm just going to give up. But it's not a very helpful thought, is it? And maybe a more helpful thought will be, it's just a mistake. I'm just learning. Everybody makes mistakes. So I might use this one to watch a short clip on teaching emotions and the importance of name it to tame it. So when we name emotions, it calms the downstairs brain. And this is a beautiful clip when Bing Bong comforts, sadness comforts Bing Bong by naming emotions. So I actually use that to teach families and parents as well. And do not forget the importance and the usefulness of teaching parents, doing video conferencing parent training. This is just our key moment. This wonderful video is about what's it like to have ADHD, and it's based on children's experiences, and it's actually research from the UK, where it's their actual voices talking about having ADHD, and but it's set to some visuals and cartoons for 2 minutes. And I again use that with not just children and young people, with parents as well, to help them understand. Another beautiful program I use is Brave Online, or OCD Not, which are both 2 Australian-based free online programs for therapy. They're manualized, they're self-monitored, so people do them themselves, or they can have a therapist-assisted version. And I can, instead of doing perhaps a worksheet in an office, which I tend not to do anyway, because as you can tell, I'm a bit more of a moving, jumping around kind of therapist. But if you're wanting to sort of work through a program, you can log in, share the screen, and actually have the child or young person complete this. And I've done this, and it's been really effective. And I've been able to, for instance, for OCD, be able to do some exposure and response prevention once we've stepped out our steps in the mountain, and been able to then go, okay, now let's do that in your living room right now. You know, that thing you've just been talking about, and we're able to actually assist them in their home, which is really exciting. I'm going to stop screen sharing now, and back to me. I just wanted to show you another couple of little fun things that are really useful to do, because my main summary for you is be prepared, have fun, and don't just get stuck sitting down and having a chat. Some children and young people are going to love that. They will shrink your little face, and they'll keep Minecrafting or playing a game or playing with their kittens and just want to talk. And that's going to be a wonderful, simple transition. But if you do have children who maybe are a little bit more active and needing a bit more attention and focus and movement, this is a great way to be doing it dynamically and generalizing things. So last couple of activities I like to do are maybe saying, okay, well, now I want to see some things from your calm kit that get your lid on. So go and find me something that is lid on for your eyes. And they'll run off around their house and they'll get something back, or get me something that's lid on for your hands. And they might come back with a fluffy pillow, or they might come back dragging the cat. I also love to play games and make sure that I've got resources that are really cheap and easy for the families to use. So I might ask them to get a balloon on the other end or some straws to practice breathing, getting them to blow up the balloon, blow it around the house, practice that nice calm breathing with a glass of water and a straw and blowing bubbles, and ask them to rate their heart rate, maybe use their Fitbit or their parents' smartwatch to measure it and really tune into that and get their lid on and their heart rate down or their lid off and notice how it feels. So there's some simple, easy things that you can use. I've got a bottle of water here to do a bit of bottle flipping game. So you might have seen this craze where it was if you can flip it and it stands upright on the ground, you kind of won, you've got a point. So I'll get my bottle and I'll say what flips your lid, what makes you get really mad or really worried, and we'll each take a turn, because having a bottle, an empty bottle with a bit of water in it, is something that's kind of easily gathered on the other end of supplies. Oh, one of the last things I like to do is use words. So I will go back to using sharing the screen is, let's see, so I go like this, share screen over to here, and there is natural moments in the therapy session in the room where you go and gather your supplies. You have a little moment where you get everything together and the pace is slower, and that's absolutely fine for that to happen in therapy as well. So this one is a social story that I've written about change, and I'll pull up Word, and the top, again, you can share the screen with them and share control with the child or young person, and they can be writing in it themselves and filling it out. So maybe they will talk about some of the changes that they've got, and, you know, school was cancelled. I had to stay home. I moved house. Right, so, and you talk with them about whether it's expected or unexpected. So the moon waxing and waning is expected, butterflies is expected, school changing was unexpected. Talking about their feelings, what they can be doing to help with that change, coming up with some helpful thoughts. So we might say, oh, you actually realized that when you had a new teacher one day, that actually that change was fun. So a change might be fun. And coming up with some more helpful thoughts. This is a picture of a science experiment I've done with a family through the video conferencing, and we've taken a screenshot of it, put it into the social story, and it's been able to really tailor it. So it's a really fun one you can get people to do, because it's really low cost resources. You get the family to get some milk, some dishwashing liquid, and some food colour together. Get a pour, and even works with almond milk, and up and goes. Pour the milk in, and as they add a few drops of the food colour in, ask them something that changes, because we're changing the milk. And then we add the little drops of dishwashing liquid, and it swirls around, and it's really exciting. For some kids it's unexpected, for some kids it's expected. And you talk about that beautiful helpful thought that I had fun learning about change, that maybe a change might be fun. And that beautiful helpful thought there. So that can be a really fun one there. So I'm going to stop sharing there, back over to me. So I think those are my favorite tips and some resources and activities you can do through video conferencing. Engage with families. It's all about the prep work, and have fun. Be dynamic, be moving, view it a bit like a home visit, where you can kind of spark from what's in the family's home and what they're doing. But I do think the key thing is being open to making mistakes, to adjusting, to asking feedback before, during, after the session, all the time. Just like any of our therapy sessions, really important to be getting feedback, seeing how it's working for people. And with anything new, knowing that it's going to be hard, but we'll have those helpful thoughts like, I can do it, it could be fun, it might actually be a great addition to my work. I hope you have fun with it, and good luck with it, and let me know how you go.